This is Casual Babble.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. My name is Babbles and this is Casual Babble, your destination for news on the entrepreneurial landscape, information on what that world looks like, and how you can find insights to elevate yourself in your entrepreneurial pursuits. Let's hop into today. We got a fantastic new entrepreneurial spotlight coming up here pretty soon, and I will introduce them in a little bit. And in the meantime, we will discuss some quick updates. Firstly, for those of you who are in North Carolina or in Charlotte, we have some updates from Innovate Charlotte, one of the best newsletters there is. So, this issue says September is here and Charlotte's startup scene is buzzing. From new founder workshops to major conference deadlines, the new season of Pitch Breakfast, this issue is packed with ways to connect, grow, and get noticed. Starting by applying to Project Jam before September 1st, so before Monday. Only 5 Charlotte startups will be selected for this hands-on workshop to refine your strategy and accelerate growth. Plus, don't miss your chance to nominate a standout company for Charlotte's 50 fastest growing businesses, or pitch your music tech startup at the Confluence 2025 Music Tech Showcase. And if events are your thing, mark your calendars, because NC Tech is in town, or was in town. This was yesterday. Actually, they're still in town for Convergence South next week, and several other conferences and events, including Next Venture Summit, Grep Beats Startup to Watch, and NC Biotech Summit are scheduled in the weeks ahead. Whether you're here to network, pitch, or learn, there's no better time to plug in. Let's hop into current deadline opportunities coming up here soon. September 1st, next Monday, apply to Project Jam, a full-day workshop experience for 5 Charlotte-based startups to define how to focus your energy and win your target market. The workshop will be held on Thursday, September 11th. September 7th, the business journals are searching for Charlotte's region's 50 fastest growing private companies. If you know a local business with impressive growth over the past 3 years, be sure to submit a nomination. And for September 12th, if you're building the future of music, apply to pitch your music tech startup live and in person at the Confluence 2025 Music Tech Startup Showcase. And other upcoming events for Charlotte include NC Tech Brews and Bites on August 20, yesterday. Sorry. Invest Charlotte, Investors and Founders. This will be on Monday, September 1st at 6 p.m. And this will be Meetup with Invest Charlotte provides an opportunity to network with C-suite individuals and build meaningful relationships to hear from featured speakers. You also have Converge South 2025 in Winston-Salem from September 4th to the 5th, Biotech Place at Innovation Quarter in Winston-Salem. It's a 2-day event, and it's a must-attend for entrepreneurs, startups, and industry professionals. We also have RevTech Labs Cohort Launch Party. This will be on September 9th at 5 p.m. The Mentor Matchmaking Launch Party kicks off the RTL Accelerator program, and it's a great opportunity to network with the founders of this cohort and to opt into helping them on a volunteer basis for 12 weeks by filling out a connection slip and dropping it in the ballot box live at the event. We, of course, have the return of Pitch Breakfast coming this September 10th at 8:15 a.m. It's, of course, a long-running startup pitch event for the new season, joining the community to support 3 founders who will take the stage to pitch their companies to our panel of investors and get real-time feedback, insights, and connections. So if you haven't been there, I highly suggest checking it out. There's also T. Palmer's Agency's CLT Blueprint Bites. This will be September 16th at 8 a.m. It'll involve the T. Palmer team and their second Charlotte Breakfast event. This exclusive series is designed to foster meaningful connections among startups, VCs, financial services, and tech leaders. Then we have in Greenville the Next Venture Summit from September 16th to 17th. This is their premier gathering for startup founders, investors, and ecosystem leaders. 2 full days of dynamic speakers, breakout sessions, investor matches, and unparalleled networking opportunities designed to help startups scale and succeed. We have Launch Catalyst, Ignite Your Startup on September 17th at 10 a.m. This is a free virtual kickoff for early stage founders across North Carolina. Hear from Justin Gold, founder of Justin's Natural Foods, plus local founder stories and NCSBTDC advisors. Walk away with actionable startup fundamentals and a toolkit of ecosystem resources. Almost through it here. Grep Beats Startup to watch. This is in Durham, September 18th. Grep Beats Startups to watch recognizes early stage startups that we believe are going to make a lot of noise over the next several years. NC Biotech Summit 2025 in Greater Charlotte on September 18th. Join fellow IT leaders at the Lake Norman IT Professionals Innovation Peer Breakfast for networking and informal discussion on today's most relevant tech topics, a casual, connection-driven gathering for practitioners and executives across the Greater Charlotte area. And finally, Investor Ready Entrepreneur Workshop, September 25th at 9 a.m. This is a free full-day workshop designed to help early-stage founders understand what investors are looking for, how to prepare for funding conversations, and which materials you'll need to impress angels and VCs. Lunch is provided and registration is required. I will probably attend that because I, as a marketing person, through my business, Cassiano Creative, my focus is to help entrepreneurs and earlier stage businesses connect with investors. So this is for me. I will be registering for that very soon. So that is our update from Innovate Charlotte. Thank you again, Innovate Charlotte, for providing that information. Some recent also updates from the Morning Brew, one of our favorite newsletters as well. Again, not sponsored, but Morning Brew, we're talking about all the time. Sponsor your boy, please. Let's look at some markets and some updates we've seen in different sectors. NASDAQ has seen a 0.44% bump recently. S&P also seeing a 0.41% bump, and Dow seeing a 0.30% bump. We are seeing a fall for 10-year, -2 DPS. Bitcoin up 0.93% and Nvidia up 1.08%. All three major indexes closed in green yesterday, despite the drama swirling around the Federal Reserve following President Trump's unprecedented move to fire Federal Governor Lisa Cook. Investors are looking to the future, specifically to Nvidia's earnings report, which will be released after the closing bell, which was yesterday. So that's been released as of now. Actually, no, that'll be tomorrow. My bad. Here we go. So let's look into this a little bit more here. We got Fed firing court battle could end up in law textbooks. Just like many employees who think that they're getting unfairly fired, Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook has lawyered up. A day after Trump's made the unprecedented move to announce that he's removing Cook from the Fed's Board of Governors, effective immediately, her attorney Abe Lowell said yesterday that she will fight in the illegal action in court. So how is it possibly illegal? The judges have to decide, since the law allows the president to remove a federal governor only for cause, which typically applies abdication of duty or malfeasance. Trump cited allegations recently submitted to the Justice Department that Cook committed mortgage fraud. Ironic. Legal experts say it's unclear whether the alleged misconduct, which was unrelated to Cook's role as federal governor and occurred before she got the job in 2022, would be enough to justify firing her for cause, especially since she hasn't been convicted of anything. Also ironic. Cook is likely to speak at a preliminary injunction halting her removal, which, if granted, would allow her to remain in her position while the lawsuit proceeds. So, fingers crossed for her, if that's the case, honestly. Let's see, you're looking for more updates here, where you can still earn 5%. When rates fall, your earnings usually follow. But with Raisin, you can still capture 5% or more on cash. When open one account to access 75 plus banks and credit unions, paying 4.30 APY or higher. And through September 30th, new customers earn a cash bonus with code EASY. Here's the bonus cash that's up for grabs. $75 to $10,000 on deposit, $250 for $25K deposit, $500 for a $50K deposit, and $1,000 for a $100K deposit. Held for 12 months. That bonus could bring your first year earnings to the equivalent of what you could earn in an account offering 5.05 or 5.30 APY. Check it out if you want. This is again from the Morning Brew newsletter. We'll peruse a little bit more. I think that's for the most part all that we're going to see really cool today as far as business updates in the entrepreneurial landscape. I do have some things coming up here soon regarding AI and discussing, the kind of approach one should have if they're going to employ AI tools into their business, but that'll be for a future episode. But for this one, let's go ahead and move into our next entrepreneur spotlight, which is an awesome guy named Allen Halas, my bad. So let's bring him in. So today on Casual Babble, we're kicking off part one of my conversation with Allen Halas, the force behind breaking and entering one of Milwaukee's most influential music platforms. In this episode, Allen takes us back to the very beginning, launching a podcast in his parents' basement and turning it into a blog, and eventually shaping it into a daily hub for Milwaukee's underground music scene. We'll hear about the slow grind of building momentum, the leap from digital content to live events, and how one man's passion for music has helped fuel an entire community. When I tell you I was so impressed speaking with Allen about his groundwork in breaking and entering, it brought me back to my days in college, being a part of the radio station there at App State, being involved in that community there, having so many wishes to be a part of the music scene and getting involved where I was able to, and the trigger of not the nuance, but the nostalgia for me is what really locked me in and really had me enjoying every single moment of this conversation. So without any further ado, here's this week's first iteration of Entrepreneurial Spotlight, Allen Halas. Enjoy. Cool. So kicking it off, Allen, you, from what I understand, you bring a really cool blend of journalism, digital media, radio hosting, and plus you got this really cool entrepreneurial journey. So that's why you're here, and I'm really excited to kind of really touch base more on that. And I'm going to be like this the whole time, and get to know you a bit more and kind of help, bring some of your awesome insights into the show. So, to kick off, you have this incredible website, Breaking and Entering. So talk a little bit about the origin story, what inspired you to start the site, and what has kept your consistency through today.
Yeah. So Breaking and Entering really launched first as a podcast in 2009. And we kept it as a podcast to this day, it might have been huge, but who knows? But it was launched as a podcast out of, at the time, my parents' basement with a friend from high school. We went into college and we turned it into a student radio show. Eventually he was a psychology major. I was a communications major, so he was a little bit busier than me. So he split off and did his thing. I still had the website, and I had always been involved in music at that point. Like even in high school, I was making beats for hip hop acts and things like that, and had my toes in the world of like Milwaukee music at the time, and
Very
experiencing like live underground music. So really turned it into like the blog era of making music discovery. Turned it into a website that people could discover Milwaukee artists at. They could see some of my friends' stuff, some of the stuff that I was working on, like all in one place, which Milwaukee really didn't have that at the time, at least not to the level that we wanted to do it. So around 2014, I made the jump to doing every day, putting something out content-wise on our website and just working as hard as I could to, elevate it as a platform for Milwaukee music. So fast forward, 11 years with a whole bunch of steps along the way, and we are here. So.
Now, what was that momentum like as it started going? Was it kind of like an immediate thing, or did it take some time? And if it was the latter, did you have moments of like, okay, how much longer should I try to push this? What did that look like?
Totally. For us, it was a slow build for sure. And Breaking and Entering is still always a slow build. Excuse me. Breaking and Entering has always been a slow build for me. We started putting out stuff 2014. Really, our big jump was in 2016. We started producing live events and putting on concerts as a promotional thing for our website. We just found the bar near our house and started booking a couple bands there. And then that kind of snowballed because then you were actually physically out in the world, right? Like there's so much digital noise, but once we were actually in the world and putting out events, people started to pick up the website, notice what we were doing, and kind of take things up from there. We also started doing a beat battle. I want to say the first one was 2017 or 2018, which is essentially, think of the movie 8 Mile, but instead of people rapping at each other, they're making beats or ahead of time and playing them for each other, and to see who's the better producer. So we started launching that. We've done a few years of that. So that was really when things kind of picked up. And then, simultaneously things like more music festivals happening, being able to get into more music festivals as press and things like that, just kind of elevated our profile. But it's definitely been a journey, and something that I'm happy to keep building and kind of grow, especially like now I work for a larger publication in Milwaukee, work for On Milwaukee, and on the side I'm still able to keep my thing growing and building too.
Now, we talked a little bit about in your screening call, like whether or not there is kind of a balance you have to make between what you put forth for On Milwaukee and then what you put forth for Breaking and Entering. So is that a difficult juggle, or is it, for you at least, you understand it well enough to where it's pretty seamless?
For me, it's actually been pretty seamless as far as what lands on Milwaukee versus what lands on Breaking and Entering.
Gotcha.
I do find ways to kind of merge those worlds, but the larger scale things definitely go to On Milwaukee, especially if they're happening in the Milwaukee area.
Yeah.
So things like concert reviews, major label artist, interviews, and things like that. Stuff that is super relevant to what's going on in Milwaukee goes to On Milwaukee. But the more hyper local stuff, maybe some stuff that doesn't necessarily land in the most advertiser friendly of spaces, that can go to the more underground stuff, that can go to Breaking and Entering.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate this entire time that even before I worked at On Milwaukee, I worked at another publication, that my editors have always been very cool about determining what lands where, has been left up to me entirely for the most part. So that's been really nice. And like being able to, the respect from both ends of it has been really cool, in the sense that I can, I know when something is maybe too big for my site and should be going to the bigger publication, as opposed to, and they know when something, if they trust my judgment on when something fits for Breaking and Entering only. So yeah, that has always been kind of nice. There's also a little bit of beauty in the sense that you can combine those two worlds a little bit too. So in addition to what I'm doing, I'm hosting a local radio show on Friday nights on FM 102.1 in Milwaukee. So that features bands that I would probably play or feature on Breaking and Entering, but I get to play them on the radio, and then the show ends up on Milwaukee. So like all of those worlds kind of come together in that format too.
And with the end of that segment, we are going to go ahead and call it to a close tonight. Thank you so much for being here for this episode of Casual Babble. And remember that we have 3 episodes per week. So tomorrow will be the second part of Allen's interview, and then the third will be on Friday. So stick it here. Follow if you haven't. Subscribe if you can. It helps out the show. And we will see you next time.